Hi, in this video I'll try to explain how we can create a Gutenberg block based on a core block. So we're not going to extend an actual core block in this case, but we're going to create a copy of a core block and then use that to create our own functionality. So these are the parts we're going to touch on. We'll start by, we're not going to do this, install WordPress. I assume everybody who's following this tutorial knows how to install WordPress, so we're going to skip this step and we'll start right away with the first step. So that's to install Gutenberg from GitHub. So let's go to Gutenberg GitHub. So copy this, then we go to our WordPress file. I'm going to open this in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to do code dot, and from now on we'll just keep working in Visual Studio Code. So in order to install the Gutenberg plugin inside the plugins, I'll open a terminal here inside plugins, and then we'll do git clone and paste the git repository over here. So after that's finished, we'll cd into the directory and we run npm install. So after that's finally done, we just have to run npm run build. Now the reason why I install Gutenberg like this from the Git repository is because we're going to need to reference the source code of some of the blocks. So that's why I take it from the Git repository instead of just installing the compiled version. Okay, once that's done, we just need to run npx create-guten-block. Okay, actually you also need to be outside of this directory, so it's good I forgot to specify the block name. So we should go back to the plugins directory and then we'll run npx create-guten-block, and then the name, I'll call it myblocks, because we could create multiple blocks. So, and yeah, normally this should be like your namespace, like the name of your plugin or the name of your business, but for the sake of this demo I'm just going to call it myblocks. So I'll pause the video again, and then after this is finished, we'll continue with the next step. Okay, so that's done. Now we need to go to cd myblocks, and then we run npm start. Alright, so at this point we can start making changes inside the myblocks source files, and they will be compiled to our block. So now to finish the setup, of course we need to enable our plugins. So I'll go to my local host, and then I think I called it test WP or WP tests. Yep, that's it. Go to the admin, and then we go to plugins and we'll make sure to enable myblocks and the Gutenberg plugin. So activate, that's it. And then we'll just edit the sample page just to see if things are working. and we'll also check if our Gutenblock is working. So if we search, like by default, if you search for Gutenblock, you'll see myblocks CGB, and we see this one is working. So this is the demo block that's created by CREATE-GUTEN-BLOCK. So if we start making modifications here inside this block, inside the source code, it will be reflected. So for the edit function, for example, we could say hello there, exclamation mark, and save it, and normally it should be recompiled now. So if we refresh this page, we'll see hello there. So everything is set up okay. So that's it for the first step. For the first and the second step we completed. So now let's move to the third step. Okay, so inside the Gutenberg folder, we'll go to packages, then block library, source, and these are all our core blocks, and we'll create a clone of the lists. So I'll copy this folder and then add it as a second block here. So paste. Okay, so there's a couple of things we need to do now. And first one would be, we need to, in our blocks.js, we will also need to include our list block. We could actually get rid of the default Gutenberg block here, but I'll just keep it in. We could like remove it later. So we'll need to import list, and then it will just take the index.js file, so we don't need to specify that. So this file is the one that will be loaded. So if we look at this file, it loads like this edit file over here. It takes some metadata from the block.json file, so that's this file. It has like a save function over here, and it uses some transforms as well. So we should try to keep all these. Now the first step we need to take is we're gonna have to like look inside this folder, like the list folder, for any occurrences of core list, because this is a nested, like this is a block that can be nested, so there might be some occurrences of it. So we will rename this by myBlock list. So all of the places where this exists. Okay. And then we will also change the name to my list, so we can see it inside the list with blocks. One thing we see immediately is that we have like some errors over here. So we need to fix that. These errors are in edit.js. And this is actually some kind of shorthand for the fragment. So we need to replace this with fragment. And of course also the closing tags need to be replaced. Okay. With the closing tags for fragment. Now the reason that the shorthand function doesn't work is because it's not supported by CREATE-GUTEN-BLOCK. Well, at least that's what I think. So we need to change it to the full name. Then we also need to make sure we import fragment from, and fragment is inside wordpress.element. Then we still have some errors. Can't resolve wordpress.icons. Now wordpress.icons is actually like some kind of external library. So we also need to make sure we add this one to our packages, so to our node modules. So we need to do npm install wordpress icons, and we're gonna save dev. Okay, so when that's done, we'll run npm start again, and we have another error. This one says can't resolve WordPress /rich text. Now, this one, to solve this one, we actually need to make a change to this code over here. Let me quickly show you something. So we'll go out of here to the plugins, and I'm gonna create a new block with create-GUTEN-BLOCK. Just call it tests. Okay, then we cd into test. And now we're gonna see which commands are, like we have the eject command, so we're gonna use that one, npm eject. That didn't seem to work. Oh yeah, of course, it needs to be npm run eject. Yes, we're sure. So now we have an extra plugin file, like called test. But now, since we have ejected it, we have some configurations. And the thing I want to show you is the externals. So some of the externals, like WordPress externals, will be WordPress components, API fetch, and so on. But as you might have seen, there is no rich text external over here. So you could of course add it after you ejected the project, but we're not gonna, like, ejection is not really recommended. So if you don't wanna eject the create-GUTEN-BLOCK code, then there's another way to do it. So we'll go back to, I'll close this now. We'll go back to the edit function over here, and instead of doing an import, we'll do const, and then we'll change these ones like this, and we'll make it equal to wp.rich text. So now we won't have like autocomplete for these. There's no IntelliSense available anymore, because our code doesn't really know where this package is. Like the WP object is just a global object. So we'll see now if we can run this without any errors. Oh, let's cd myblocks, npm start. We still have some errors. The same error over here in transforms.js. So we'll need to do the same thing over here. So now this builds. I think this is a good time to see if something is showing up already on the front end. Now let's see list. I only see the list popping up, so we don't have the my list yet. Now that's probably because we did register or block through PHP, so let's do that now. Plugin. We have a file called init.php, and over here we see that we are like registering CGB myblocks, but we actually also need to create another function. So let's call it myblocks register block type. Let's make a function that does this. And then this will take our name. And then we'll call this one, so we'll use name over here, and then I'm just gonna remove these comments. We can call myblocks registerBlockType with this name. So that's for the original Gutenberg block. And then we're gonna create our own one, myblocks lists. So let's see if this already works. Refresh. Nope, it's still not there. Okay, let's look at our to-do list over here. So we actually copied the core list block to create-guten-block. We did a find and replace for core lists to myblocks list. Yes. So another thing we need to do is this function over here, export const settings, needs to be replaced by registerBlockType. And registerBlockType is a function which is available, let's do it with an import, which is available in the WordPress blocks. Should be, yeah, it's recognized. And then of course registerBlockType takes the name of the block, and then it takes some settings. And one more thing we need, but I'm gonna see if the error shows up, so we could do some debugging. So at this point it still doesn't show up. And if we look at the developer tools, we'll see of undefined in edit.js. This needs to be rich text lowercase. So I'll refresh the page again. And now we have this error. So the block, myBlock / list, and actually it should be myblocks / list. So I'm going to change that as well, but it must have a category, it says. So in order to give it the category, we need to get like these values over here. We need to get them inside our registerBlock function as well. So we could do that by deconstructing the metadata, because the metadata is coming from the block.json. And then I'm just gonna do a quick find and replace for my block list, and I'm gonna rename it to myblocks list. Okay. So after refreshing now, I hope the error will be gone. There's no error. I'm just going to select the context. So no errors, no warnings. And now we'll see lists. Yes. So we have now we have my lists. So let's put some numbers here. Let's put some text. See if everything's working. Okay, all looks fine. Can we switch to this one? Yes. Okay, so it works exactly the same as our regular lists. There is one more problem though, because if we take a look at our checklist, so we did all these things. Well, we didn't do them in the exact right order, but all of this has changed. But now point 8. So we have some variables that will start with unstable. Like if I just scroll through this, we'll probably find some already. well, in index.js there don't seem to be any, but like over here we have some like functions that will start with unstable. So functions like this, they can be removed at any time from core, so it's probably not a good idea to keep these inside our code. So like, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think the only way to handle this right now is to actually go look at the code of these functions and actually kind of integrate them inside your own block. So to start doing that, I'll create a file and I'll call it unstable.js, and then we'll need to go, I guess we need to go just through all of them, and let's just start with one, and then I'll fast forward through the other ones, but let's do one of them. Okay, so let's pick this one, change list type, because this is one we can easily test. So what we can do now is unstable, so it's called unstable change list type, and it's part of the WP rich text module or package. So in Gutenberg packages we'll find, so not inside the block library this time, but just like straight on the root of the packages, we'll find rich text over here, source, and then we'll have index, and then we'll see like these places. So one of them is unstable change list type, and this is actually this function over here. So we can go to the definition and we can like simply copy this function, and I'll just double click to keep it open, and we can add it to our unstable package. So just by copying this function, that's not enough, because this is referencing other functions inside the package as well. So like the get line index and the get parent line index and line separator. So we'll also need to include those. So I'll go back here and then go to the get line index function, and I'll copy this one, add it to the unstable, and then the line separator, we need this one as well. So we copy this and also add it to our stable. I'll just add it at the top because this is like more like a constant. Okay, so then we just need to do the get parent line index. That's one more we need. Get parent line index, go to definition, and then we just need to copy this one. There we go. We'll save this, and then of course inside the edit.js function we can simply like remove this one, and then we can import change list type from unstable. There we go. So now the change list type function, we're actually calling it from code that we have included in our own plugin, and we don't have any more unstable parts here, or we shouldn't have any more. So if we look for unstable, they're gone. So actually you need to just keep doing this. And yeah, I realize it's a bit of tedious work, but I guess that's the only way to make sure that your plugin will be future-proof. So you need to get rid of all these underscores. Now let's just test if everything is still working. So we'll refresh, and I'm like especially going to check if the changing of the type, if that works, and it seems to be going okay. So just put this to bullets. So that looks fine. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'll just quickly change the other ones now. I'm going to like just pause the video and just quickly do it, because it's the same procedure, just like finding, replacing, putting the unstable functions over here, and once that's done, I'll get back and we'll see how we can like make some kind of customizations to the block. So while trying to get rid of all of the unstable tags, I realized that this really wasn't that practical. So I kind of gave up. I removed a lot of them, but just in some cases it just feels too weird. So I think my conclusion is that at least the list block maybe isn't mature enough to actually fully make a copy of. Like, I'm not sure if it's even like possible or recommended at this point, so I would advise against this approach. Still, I believe at this point, if you really want to start from a clone from an existing list block, that yeah, this is probably the only way to go at this moment in time, I hope. And I'm gonna also keep thinking about it and maybe add follow-up videos to this one as my insights grow. But yeah, at this point I would highly recommend against it. So that being said, we almost had it at this point, so I'm just going to complete the rest of it. So I'm just going to add an extra style for our own special list. So for this list in the myblocks plugin. So let's create a new file, and I'm going to add some styles to it. So I'm going to call it style.scss. Okay, I'm gonna import this style over here. Import like this, style.scss. I can't resolve style.scss. Oh, it's styles.scss. Okay. And then I created some styles before, so I'm just going to copy those. I'm going to copy those over here. Okay, so while pasting this, I realized I also had to rename styles.scss to style.scss. So I did that, and I also updated the code over here. These styles should only apply to our new list. So let's check, and let's refresh this page. Nothing seems to happen here. I think I actually need to, yeah, I'm going to add a class to here. So we're gonna add class name equals top list, and for the edit function as well. So rich text class name equals top list, save it, and then refresh again. Okay, so now we have some styles applied. Since some of the HTML has changed as well, we can attempt a block recovery. Okay, cool, that worked. Update. And so, yeah, here we go. So the only thing we actually did now was like make sure this had a different style. So I'm gonna update it, view page, and the style is reflected at the front end as well. So actually this was something pretty simple. The reason why we created this as a top list is because we want to have like a normal list as well. So we want to have these interchangeably, like a normal list which would just look like this, and then a top list which would have like or we call it my list in this case, which looks like this. So I think in another video I'll just try to simplify this a lot just by extending the existing list, and we could like add some kind of a toggle button just to make sure we have a different style. I think that's the best way to go at this point, instead of what we try to do now, because what we tried to do now was to actually copy an existing core block and then like start from that point to create our own block where we can do all kinds of stuff. But I think for this, probably at this point the only and the best approach would be to just extend a core block, and that's pretty simple. So I'll just maybe I'll just I'll put it in a video after this one, and I'll add a link to it. So thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.